Hi guys. Oh, I don't even know what time it is. That would be good to find out, right? It's fully dark out, maybe between 2 a.m. at the earliest and like 4 a.m. at the latest. And that's what it feels like, but sometimes this version of 2 a.m. surprises me, so but it might be 4 a.m. if we're doing that version, you know what I mean? Like 2, 3, and 4 all feel very different to me, but sometimes it can be the wrong one. Like I can still, like it could be 3 and I thought it was 2 or something, you know what I mean? Something like that. So I go back and forth about bringing up certain topics in my YouTube videos because I know that when you make a certain move in your life, you cannot go backwards to when it never happened. You can move forward either way, but you can never undo anything. And so I really do try to think, like not just try to think about that. I think about it until I try not to think about it, and then I'm like, okay, now I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I try to think about it. So I don't know if there's like hair. There's not, I'm just thinking of that. I should have like some water. I wanted to talk about something involving my twin flame. But honestly, you know what? People choose what videos they click on, and I only get like 3 views at this point. So like, you know. I feel like my YouTube channel is overwhelmingly missing context explaining why certain things between my twin flame and I are the way that they are, but also why we sort of keep them where they are. Not going too far into topics, but like I want to make sure that like it's sufficiently explained. First of all, how strong of a connection it is, not how strong it is not. That's not the reason for a separation. It depends what caused you to go into a separation. For either of you to still be willing to pursue it, that shows the strength of the connection, not really like just the strength of not having it, right? So there's different like, it's not your average twin flame connection by any means. It's not like you are gonna be confused if you think it's average. And obviously, yeah, twin flames, it's like, well, you only have one. So, but everybody's still operating on a different level. Nothing is universally similar or the same at all. But only because there's very different blocks in many ways. It's a weird position to want to add context, because I know which parts to add context to, but obviously I don't know who, like, the viewer of the video is, but the video could be seen by anybody, but it's not, like, really about that, because when you upload a YouTube video, if you do the part you're supposed to do, you're not responsible for who sees it and doesn't see it. I mean, you are, because you have to like say things that are okay to say. I'm like, okay, I'm not sitting in a room of 10,000 people. I'm alone by myself, and the video is gonna get 2 views or 1 view or something, and they're not gonna watch it all the way through anyway. It's 5 minutes and they're not gonna make it this far. I have like an 8% click-through rate, and the average duration of some of the views will be like 45 seconds or like 1 minute. They're not gonna make it to 6 minutes anyways, and it was gonna get 2 views. So, but that doesn't mean that in the future nobody can see it, so yeah. I'm not even gonna talk about everything obviously, but there are some extreme blocks, if you will, or I don't even think I would call them blocks, just things that we are both aware of and like care about, but things that would seem like a weird move from the outside, but I don't feel like there's ways that neither of us understand the context, even if we don't in the exact moment or like overthink it or something, right? So I'm trying to think of where to start, really. How about how there's not an NDA? Is it a good place to start? But that doesn't mean that I'm like trying to make myself or anybody feel exposed in ways that would not be appropriate for the connection. That's a good place to start. That's a pretty, I think that's a good place to start. That's a pretty decent place to start. And while I'm not making this video like, oh, it's like tea, you know what I mean? It's not like that. But I think there's some important conversations. What was that? I don't know. Also, I think pretty much my twin flame and I are not, like, it's not that we're not close, even though we haven't talked in years, but we're not close to a degree that would be like invasive, because it's not like I know anything for the most part about him that there aren't also people that know, but like that doesn't mean that I was like trying to make it like weird. I think this video will actually clear things up if he saw it. I think that's like a good intention. I think it would clear things up. With the state of the world, you guys are gonna be like, whoa, what? Okay. So, on our first phone call ever, my twin flame had opened up to me about, I don't know if it's like a self-trust thing or whatever, but sort of just feeling like I guess it is like a self-trust issue, right? It's like not wanting to like harm people, but feeling like because of childhood wounds and like abuse made him feel like, I guess like he could just chop people up or something, right? Like that was how he was like sort of made to feel about himself. It was gonna be like, okay, well, you know, abuse makes people think of all kinds of stuff. Well, one of the first things he ever said to me was that like he was like, I would have even wanted to chop you up. And so I kind of took that. At the time I was like, well, I can tell you would never actually do it, but I still am hesitant because, you know, you're a man and I'm a woman, and that looks so bad from the outside, and like, oh my god, what about all the people who had that actually happen because they did not like pause and be like, okay, so if you said that, it's probably true, like it has to be taken seriously because I obviously value my life and my safety and free will, but obviously you value yours. And so for a lot of people, I think they never would have talked to their own twin flame had, even if it was their real twin flame, had a conversation like that, not just come up, but like been about them personally. But that, the reason why I didn't see it that way is because of how much abuse he was overcoming. Just like the way he described it to me, and I'm not gonna get into it, but like an insanely extreme, I mean, I don't know more than I'm really saying. Possibly, I don't know what I'm gonna say, but like sort of when somebody, for like pertaining to him, when somebody is overcoming things like extreme physical abuse that was like every single day of their life, extreme sexual abuse, extreme, which again, that's why I was trying to be like, I don't know, like, what do you want me to say that, but like, I'm not like, it's not like I'm like details about this, you know what I mean, but yeah, it's a real concept and a real thing that happened. So, and sexual assault, obviously I'm not gonna like, you know what I mean, but yeah, it's hard to talk about it with somebody else not being there, because you're like, well, I wasn't gonna just say this and that, you know what I mean, but like, unless you like wanted to say that yourself. So, but yeah, so that part I don't think is weird for me to say, because those things are just so overwhelmingly true. But what I will say is that it wasn't just like, oh, this happened like one time in his life, but it was so many times that he does not know. I'm sorry, that's not like extreme, but like does not know how many times it happened, because he said it could have been like many consecutive years, right? So we're not looking at a one-time thing, we're looking at an infinite number of encounters with infinite people, and not knowing who the people were, not remembering the actual people necessarily, or the actual instances of it happening. And that's fully like real and true and stuff. So because of that, many of them, I wasn't there, but obviously many of, yeah, flip that around, because obviously I was not there. What I'm trying to say, okay, that got so butchered. See, I can't even think like how to phrase it. That's gonna be so confusing. I don't know how to talk about it, dude, but I'm like, what did I say? Okay, I don't know if all of them are women or if many of them are women, for example. But he did say many of them were women or something like that, or that many women did this, right? It wasn't phrased in a way that like I knew for sure like what that meant. But yeah. And so obviously for that reason, despite being like the chaser and the twin flame dynamic, because that's still like a concept essentially, I do everything I can to, you know what I mean, be respectful of like, this seems like a boundary, like, but there, you know, there were arguments and things, and I hope I'm not saying too much, but I think it's not so much that it's like things that nobody knows. But yeah, these are very like gut-wrenching concepts and real things to like sort of hold in your mind and be like, okay, like in this dynamic where this is, you know, something that a connection that I wanted to pursue, well, and be available to, right? So it's like, well, how can I make sure that I'm not like triggering in any way? Not that, I don't know. I don't know if that's how he would feel, right? So that's part of why I guess I had like millions of second thoughts, you know what I mean? Like, not about like, is that what I want, like an action that I want to take, but more so like, am I sure that this would actually be fine, right? So I really do judge the situation, and yeah, like I really do judge the situation and do my best to only do what feels appropriate and only do what feels like it would not go outside the bounds of like things that would be, I wouldn't want it to be received, like the video to be received in a way that would be like uncomfortable for him, right? And that's how I feel about every video that I put out, but that doesn't mean that I always like get it right, but I always try to, and I always have like millions of second thoughts about it. So that's the reason why I do overwhelmingly have like second thoughts about, not about him, but because he's my twin flame and that's real, but I overwhelmingly have second thoughts about like, how do I know that if somebody has survived, possibly, I don't know how, like if it's hundreds, 100, plural hundreds, how, like of sexual assault situations and sexual violence, I don't know. It makes me not know. Am I doing anything that is outside the bounds of what is like pretty normal? For like, because that's my twin flame's experience in life, that he had, like, I'm not saying that's the only kind of experience he's had, like many millions of wonderful experiences, I'm sure. And that's part of like, yeah. So you know what I mean, not judgmental or anything, obviously, but towards myself I am, because I want to always make sure that I'm not doing anything that's actually weird or actually like morally wrong or anything, or like seems that way, you know? So yeah, it's difficult to like navigate, but still something that has tremendous value in navigating, like putting effort into like the conversation and having the conversation even about twin flames in the right way, because it's not about like trying to go around somebody's consent to like be with them in any capacity. So that's why I wanted to like reframe some of that and like open up about that part. I think normally when you're in a situation where you're sort of dealing with a man who is straight and has expressed that to you, if at some point in time you ask them if they're gay, that seems weird. But where I'm coming from, where some people come from, it's very normal for somebody to ask them if they're gay, and where some people come from, it's very weird. And it's not because he seemed gay, it's not because of that, and there's nothing wrong with people being gay at all. So, I have asked him on multiple encounters only because I wanted to be like, if you're my twin flame, but you've also had very bad experiences with women, I don't want to be somebody who is causing that. I don't want to be the reason why you have to think about like some terrible thing that happened to you because of a woman. If there's any chance that like sexuality is the part of like why you're not interested, or like, you know what I mean? Like, because then he just wouldn't be my twin flame, but like I don't want to be like so outside the bounds of like normal that like that I just didn't realize he was gay or something, you know what I mean? Like I don't know if you understand. I'm only really at the core of that, I'm really only saying that, like asking him that because I want to make sure I'm not so far out of the bounds that like if he just didn't feel like saying he was gay or something that like I should have picked up on it. That's the reason for me wanting to say that. But I think the last time we talked, there were sort of way worse like emotions brought up in me, where I was like, I'm sort of like, okay, so I don't know, I think I was very focused on the fact that he had at some point in time said that he would chop me up or something. Not like that he was going to, not like a threat, it was not a threat made, but it was sort of like, I guess like these are like the emotions that I'm left with, that I would even do that to you, and like, you know, like that sort of thing. But then I, again, still, even with like the context of like all of the trauma, still took it as like, well, if you're willing to say it doesn't mean you definitely would, you know what I mean? So actually I'm very confident with this video because I feel like I put a lot of like effort into it. I don't know, I feel like it actually is coming out decently, like not like the recording style and whatever, you know what I mean? But like I feel like I didn't say anything that feels so outside of what could have been normal. But yeah, so the reason why I asked him that multiple times, which I did, is because it's not like, oh, I feel this way like about you being gay, like it's not like that. It's like which obviously great to be gay, great to not be gay, whatever, like it's not like that. It's like, well, if you experienced women being predatory in a sexual way in the past, that would be triggering to anybody. But if you are gay, then I don't want to be adding to that further without knowing. I don't want to be the reason why you feel that way. But I feel like he was like, well, why would you ask that? Like, that's really extreme to ask me, like, after everything that I've been through. I was like, exactly, I don't know. So, yeah. But at some points there were some harsh words exchanged, and I don't know, I think I wanted him to know that even though he had a very extremely violent upbringing every single day of his life, that if you go around and tell people that you would chop them up, or that you would be willing to because of the emotional state that you were left with, that you're still doing things that the world may try to hold you accountable for, and that it sounds like a threat, and that if those people don't have intuition, they're not going to be able to separate whether that's true or just something you're expressing in the moment that you would never do. And he wasn't like angrily saying this, like it was just like a casual conversation, but I was like, you need to know how like I'm not trying to make you not feel normal, but you need to know how not normal saying that part is to people. So that part sort of like skyrocketed the very difficult conversation, having multiple angles to it, because I was like, you're still a man saying that to a woman. Even though you've been through so much, you're still a man saying that to a woman, and that needs to be not okay. But also, you going through all of your trauma needs to not be okay that people were able to do that to you and get away with it. So, yeah. That's why there's a little bit more, if it seems like I'm thinking a little bit too much about whether or not I should or shouldn't say something, or whether or not he should be held accountable, or whether or not I should be held accountable for something. I think we were just both trying to make things not weird, but that the situation already seemed escalated. But that clearly is still my twin flame, if you understand the context of everything I just said. But anyway, I just wanted to put this video out there, and maybe it helps people. I love you guys. Goodbye.